My expectations were as low as anyone's after President Trump told us that he was in no rush for denuclearization, but I didn't necessarily expect that it would collapse without any signed agreement between the two sides. Though I have to say, after the sanctions issue became apparent, I'm not all that surprised.
President Trump was saying when he announced the end of this summit that the North Koreans were demanding the full lifting of sanctions. But we've since heard from the North Korean foreign minister saying actually they only asked for what they normally asked for, which was the partial lifting. Do you think the issue of sanctions was the real reason this summit failed?
I do think it was, and I do think both sides honestly have a technical point here. The North Koreans did not ask for all 11 UN Security Council resolutions that have been enacted since their first nuclear test in 2006 to be lifted. But my understanding is they asked for 5 of those resolutions, the most recent 5, the resolutions added in 2016 and 2017. And in effect, if you look at the totality of the sanctions regime, most of what is in place really comes from those resolutions. When President Trump said that they wanted the entirety of the sanctions lifted, he was incorrect on a technical level, but in reality, the bulk of the sanctions regime does come down to what was enacted in 2016 and 2017.
So what now for the US and North Korea in trying to pursue this denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula?
Well, I think we're in a bad place. We don't have a total collapse of the process on either side. The North Korean foreign minister was pretty clear that North Korea's negotiating position had remained the same, does remain the same, and likely will remain the same, that sanctions relief must come first in exchange for certain steps at Yongbyon. And to be honest, the steps that North Korea was offering represented a much smaller portion of their nuclear fuel production capabilities than the sanctions resolution that they were asking to have lifted represent in terms of total sanctions pressure. So we'll have to see where the process goes from here. I wouldn't be surprised to see a long delay without any further U.S.-North Korea meetings, perhaps for a few months. We'll have to see what South Korean President Moon Jae-in does. He rescued this process twice last year. He rescued it in May 2018 after Donald Trump canceled the summit in June, and he rescued it in September 2018 with the Pyongyang summit after an August trip cancellation by Mike Pompeo to Pyongyang. So we might see the South Koreans play a pretty important role here as well.